Hey folks, it's Steve. Today we have our new co-host. His name is Larry. He's a former agent of the players. He will be joining us on the SB show. We will be talking about A-Rod and the Yankees. Well, what went wrong? Is Joe Girardi to blame? What went wrong with the Red Sox? Did Bobby Valentine really do a bad job? Was he to blame for the Red Sox? We also talk some NBA. Give our predictions, and we also give our NFL predictions for the upcoming week. It's going to be very interesting. We also talk about the NCAA football. What is our projected BCS championship game? How good is Alabama? Notre Dame really prove their worth, or are they really vulnerable? All this and more in our podcast of the SP show November 6th show. All this starts right now.
Well, sure, Steve. First of all, I've been following sports for many, many years, but more than that, I've been involved in sports marketing over the years. And also, for whatever it's worth, I used to be an NFL player agent way back in the years 89 to 94. So it was like 3 lifetimes ago. But I still hold some of those relationships even to this day, some of my former NFL players that I used to work with and represent. So I've had a long interest in sports. I do have a day job where, although today is daytime too, but I have a day job where I actually work for a watch manufacturing company, and I'm on the marketing side of the business, and I'm living up in Minneapolis right now for my job, but my company is in New York, and I relocated to New York from Los Angeles. So I grew up, pretty much an LA guy. All the LA teams, back in the day, it was the Rams and the Dodgers and the Lakers, and then over time, I kind of got out of baseball and even football because LA didn't have a team for a while and everything. And when I moved to New York, it was a very easy thing for me to just adopt the New York Jets and the New York Yankees. New York is such a huge baseball town, but I still kept my loyalties to the Lakers. So I'm in basketball, I'm a Lakers guy. In football, New York Jets, and in baseball, the New York Yankees.
It's a pretty interesting blend what you have there with all those teams, and as I said, they're just struggling for some reason. And the Yankees season just really ended off in a bad point. That was just unexpected, and they just got blown out. What do you think about that playoff season that they had?
Well, that's a good question. Here's how I feel about it. I am a Yankee fan. I'm a big Alex Rodriguez fan, which was pretty tough to watch him struggle through the playoffs for sure. But I'm not a Joe Girardi fan. Even when they won the World Series 2 years ago, I just don't like the way he manages the team. Girardi has this, he's got this thing that he has to rest players all the time. And for the last few years, what has happened, and not necessarily so much this year, because this year they had to play hard all the way down to the stretch because of the way the playoffs were constructed this year with the single-game playoff, and they had to win the division. But in the past, Girardi takes his foot off the gas with about 3 weeks to go, once it looks like they have a playoff spot, sewed up, and then the team usually can't get their stroke back when they can't flip that switch. But he has this thing where he has to rest players all the time. And I'm an old school kind of guy, and I just don't believe in it, resting guys all the time, even if they're older players. It's not that hard to play baseball, and I think it takes guys out of their rhythm. Baseball is the kind of game you want to keep your stroke together. You want to play every day. I'm not blaming Girardi for Alex's woes, but here's the thing. Think about it. If one guy all of a sudden, goes into the tank and he comes up with a 1 for 15 in a series, you say, okay, the guy's in a slump, he had a bad series. If 2 guys go in the tank, okay, all right, well then, maybe 2 guys had a slump. But when it's pretty much every player, okay, goes in the tank, you got to say, wait a minute, what's happening here? And what I say it is really more than anything is I say it's a lack of leadership. The Yankees need, in my opinion, an old guy, not just an old school guy, but an old guy to be the manager. Baseball players are funny creatures, okay? Baseball players, you think about them. I don't know, did you ever play baseball as a kid?
I did try it. I played it one day to be honest. One day, that's all I did.
I played quite a bit of baseball,
Okay.
Even to the level of high school, but I quit my high school baseball team because I was so in love with basketball, and I just wanted to play basketball year-round. But my point is, baseball players, for the most part, are, when it comes right down to it, they're kind of socially retarded guys, really. They don't go to the dance or to the beach or, that kind of stuff what the other kids are doing. They just want to live, eat, and sleep baseball. I'm talking about when you're young kids in junior high school and high school. They're baseball nerds, okay? That's how baseball players are. Now, when they get older and they come out of their shell a little bit, they get a little bit more cultured, they get some money, and they get more well-rounded. It's a little different. But my point is, from the time that you're young, okay, even in the level of high school and even below high school, Pony League, those kinds of things, the baseball players, they love old guys that are lifetime, lifers in baseball, that drive the old broken down station wagon with a broken windshield and stuff. Those are the guys that have been in the game their whole life, and they got a bucket of balls in the back seat of the car, okay? But for whatever reason, baseball players like those kind of guys. Now, I'm not saying all baseball players have to have those kind of guys, but when you're the New York Yankees and every guy on your payroll is basically a multimillionaire, okay? These guys, they don't respect they don't respect money. They don't respect millionaires, finance guys. Maybe they've come to learn how to do that. But what they respect is they respect the old coach. And so you put a guy in there like a Joe Torre. I'm not saying they should go back and get Torre. Torre's got his job with Major League Baseball now. But you get one of these lifer kind of managers, like what's the guy in Philadelphia, Charlie Manuel.
Okay.
There's the Davey Johnson with Washington. Look at that. Davey Johnson, I mean, he looks like an old man, and he's got all these young kids, and they love the guy. Baseball, and so what I'm saying to you is the Yankees need an old guy that they can respect, that's got old school values. Girardi looks like he could still play, okay? They don't respect him. They don't respect him, and the thing of it is, I personally think that Girardi ruined Jorge Posada's career. I know Posada was getting up there in age, but he kept resting him when he didn't have to, and then he'd come in after being out for a couple of days, and he couldn't find his stroke, and he would look bad. And I think it was a personal affront to Derek Jeter that they rehired Girardi. They gave Girardi a new contract, and I don't think Jeter wanted him after what he did to his buddy. I just don't think so. But Jeter's not going to leave New York, no matter what. So I don't know. I think there's a problem there. And as far as Alex Rodriguez goes, okay, Alex looked terrible, but so did a lot of other guys. It almost looks like now Alex can't even hit the ball anymore. He needs to go to another team where he can get a fresh approach, a new hitting coach. And the problem is with Alex, too, is that Alex thinks, I mean, he loves Kevin Long. If you hear Alex Rodriguez in interviews, he will tell you that Kevin Long is a secret weapon. He's the best kept secret in baseball as far as a hitting coach goes. So Alex swears by him, all right? But Alex is going down the toilet. Kevin Long has got Alex so twisted up there, okay? He's changed his swing. He doesn't know, he's thinking too much, and that's always a bad thing for Alex Rodriguez. He needs to get with a new hitting coach, a new team where he can get all that pressure off of him, and I still believe Alex Rodriguez has a 40 home run season, if not a couple, still in him. The guy takes care of himself, and I know people love to hate him because he's the highest paid player in baseball, but I believe he needs to get some credit for playing the game the right way, and he does play the game the right way. He runs out every ball. He's the first one to the park early in the afternoon for, practice. He's the last one to leave. He works hard. He's a diligent ball player as far as how his work ethic goes. He runs out everything. He's not lazy. He plays the game the right way, like Derek Jeter does. The difference is everybody loves Jeter for the way he plays, and I do too. But Alex, even though he plays the right way, he doesn't get the same credit that Jeter does. So, anyway, I could go on and on about the Yankees.
Yeah, definitely. I do like your points, though. I can definitely see what you're trying to say. Now, the question I had is, you did mention the hitting coach. Now, I was going to ask, who should you blame for his struggling? And my other question was, what team do you think will be able to pick him up?
Well, it really would boil down to two teams. I know people are throwing the Florida team in there because he's from Florida. I think that's a horrible, horrible, horrible idea. It would have to either be the California Angels or the Boston Red Sox. And I think either one of those would be a great place for him. I would love to see him go to the Red Sox because, and I don't think the Red Sox would be interested, actually. It may not be, okay? But if I was Alex's coach, and see, this is one of the problems I have with Girardi. You know, here's the thing, and you're going to learn a little bit about me. I'm an old school kind of guy. It's not always about X's and O's. It's about being a leader of men and being, you know, a manager. I mean, have you been watching it all on the news? You see what's happening in Indianapolis with the Colts right now?
Yeah.
To me, this is exactly what I'm talking about. The Colts were horrible last year. They had the worst record in football, okay? Now they have a legitimate shot at making a playoff run right now. They definitely have a shot at it. I'd like to see them make it with a rookie quarterback and everything. But what's happening is they're playing like bigger than themselves. They all have a purpose now. This coach, Chuck Pagano, who's, you know, fighting leukemia, he's got everybody motivated. He had that speech in the locker room after the game. He talked about dancing at his daughter's wedding. Now, and I will grant you that football is a different kind of a sport than baseball in the sense that it's all for one, one for all. It's emotional. Guys in football are kind of, you know, in some ways easy to lead in the sense that, you know, they'll buy into anything. You know what I mean? They'll buy into any kind of thing that will motivate them to play as a unit and everything. And it is a big family. They go through battles together. They go through war together. But here's a coach that, you know, you stop and think about this. We're not talking about a coach that has been with these guys for 5 years or 10 years, okay? Imagine if Bill Belichick was going through the same thing that Pagano's going through, and all of a sudden he's in the hospital. Don't you think there'd be a locker room full of guys that would want to run through a brick wall for Belichick? They've been playing for this guy. I mean, some of those guys, Brady's been there for over 10 years. But a lot of these guys have been there 3, 4, 5, 6 years. They know Belichick. They go through battles with this guy. You know, Chuck Pagano, he wasn't even the coach last year. Okay, what did he have with the team? A few months of workouts and preseason, and all of a sudden everybody's ready to kill for the guy. They just met him. Think about it. But that's my point in going back to the Yankees and Girardi, okay? It's about being a leader of men. I'll tell you right now, I really don't think Phil Jackson, I know I'm jumping all over the map here, but it's making a point here. Okay, Phil Jackson has got to go down in history as the greatest NBA coach because he's got the most championships, all right? So I'll give him that, and I'm a Phil Jackson fan for sure. But if I had my choice between Pat Riley and Phil Jackson, I'm a Pat Riley guy. I will take Pat Riley because Pat Riley, with him, if you don't play defense, you don't play. You're on the bench, okay, period. Phil Jackson, he won't call timeouts. He wants all the guys to figure it out for themselves. Stay on the floor. You'll figure it out. You're professionals. And he tries to teach everybody how to think for themselves, how to act for themselves, be responsible for themselves, and figure it out for yourself. Really, that's his thing. But you know what? He's a great coach because he's a leader of men, and he motivates and how the men interact with each other, and he makes them a single mind, a single unit, okay? And so what I'm saying is with Girardi, it's not about when to bunt, although I have many tactical issues with Joe Girardi. But that aside, I used to have tactical issues with Joe Torre, too. But at least with Joe Torre, I mean, you have a class act there that has the respect of all the men, of all the players, and that's the most important thing. And again, going back to, you know, what's wrong with Alex, If I was coaching Alex, if I was his manager, I would take him aside. I'd say, "Come on, Alex, we're gonna go out for lunch and breakfast, and we're gonna spend the day together." And I would talk to him, and I would say, "Listen, everybody's doubting you. Everybody thinks you're done. You're washed up. You can't catch up with the fastball anymore." And I say, that's wrong, and we're going to prove everybody right. This is what you have to do, okay? First of all, I'm going to put you on a program. I'm going to get you a nutritionist and a coach. Now, first of all, Alex can afford whatever he wants. I mean, Alex makes millions of dollars, so he can have people on the payroll, okay? I'd get you a nutritionist, and even the guy who I have in mind is somebody who I happen to know. I'd get him a track coach, okay? And I say, "Listen, what I want you to do is I want you to drop 20 to 25 pounds. You're going to come in next season, and you're going to blow everybody away, and you're going to be coming in here at 195 or 205 pounds. You're going to look like Alex Rodriguez when you came up with Seattle. I don't know if I can get you down to that skinny, but I want to see you get thin, okay? Not that he's fat. Alex is in great shape, okay? But I want you to get thin. I want to put you on a program. I want you running. We're going to work on your speed. We're going to work on your quickness. We're going to get your diet down. We're going to get you training every day. I want you to come in thin." That's number one. Number two, okay? Now, with the Yankees, you can't do this, okay? But if I was Alex's manager, if I was his personal manager, I'm talking about, not his playing manager. If I was his personal manager, I would advise him to okay a deal to get traded out of New York and go to another team. But one of the conditions would be, "Alex, I want you to play shortstop. And so you're going to get skinny, you're going to get thin, we're going to move you back to shortstop. And we're going to show everybody that you can still play this game." Alex still has a cannon for an arm. He still has a great arm. He's not hurting the team at third base at all. He moved to third base for Jeter. Now, albeit that was 10 years ago, okay? And so it's been a long time. But I think if he got thin, he could play shortstop. Look, he wouldn't be an Omar Vizquel at short, but neither was Cal Ripken. Cal Ripken was a tall, gangly shortstop, okay? And yet, but he would make the routine plays, he'd make the regular plays, and he gave you plenty of offense. One of the great shortstops of all time is Cal Ripken. I'm a huge Cal Ripken fan. You don't have to be, an Ozzie Smith. It would be great to have a guy like that, but Alex could do that too. I want you to get skinny. I want you to play short. And as far as your batting goes, we're going to get you a new hitting coach, okay? And what Alex needs to do, okay, is, see, here's the thing. If, I'm really into baseball and I played baseball. The thing is, there's two overriding schools, and within those two schools of thought of hitting, there's factions within them, those two. But the two overriding schools is basically you have your Ted Williams school of hitting and you have your Charlie Lau school of hitting, okay? And then, like I said, there's a lot of variations and there's some combinations in there. But basically the difference between the two is, with the Ted Williams way of hitting, you have your weight on your back foot, two hands on the bat, and you keep two hands on the bat all the way through the swing, and you keep your weight on your back foot, and you rotate on the back foot, and as you're making contact, then you have a weight transfer, as you swing. You pop the hips open and then swing. With the Charlie Lau method, okay, that's the Charlie Lau method where you got all your weight back at the beginning, and now you move your weight going forward, okay, and as you swing, you after contact or with contact and after contact, you let go of the bat with your top hand, and you get further extension by letting go of the bat. It's a much more difficult way to hit because of the fact, even though it's more difficult, 90% of the guys today hit that way now, okay? To release the top hand off the bat. This is kind of the new way, but it takes more skill to do that, because stop and think about it. And to me, the greatest example of a Charlie Lau hitter was George Brett. George Brett was the model for Charlie Lau hitting, and he's one of the greats of all time.
Oh, David Ortiz, he agreed to a 2-year deal with the Red Sox. You probably heard about that as well.
Yeah,
So he's going to stay there.
He called Bobby Valentine crazy, which
Yep,
really,
that's right.
I really wish he didn't say that. I like David Ortiz. I like David Ortiz, but you know what, Valentine, and I like Bobby Valentine, and I guess Valentine in many ways brought it on himself by being so controversial. Valentine, had said that Ortiz took himself out of the lineup, and because they were out of the race or whatever, and he still could have played. And Ortiz said that it wasn't him that took him out; it was the doctors. Said that he shouldn't be playing, and that's why he didn't play. So Ortiz then shot back saying Valentine is a crazy man. Of course, Valentine's no longer there. But that whole thing with Valentine, I guess, was very unfortunate. I think he could have been a good manager there. But, as I said earlier when we were talking about the Red Sox and Alex and everything else, the Red Sox fans are, that's got to be the most intense fan base in all of baseball is Boston. It really, really is. It goes beyond even the Yankee fans. And when Bobby Valentine said that he didn't think that Kevin Youkilis was giving the same level of, I forgot his exact words, but basically he was saying he wasn't playing with the same passion that he had seen him play with in the past. That was like blasphemous. That was, you're attacking one of the guys that is basically, those two guys, I'm talking about Pedroia and Youkilis, those guys are like mudders. You know what I mean? They're like down in the dirt, head first, dirty uniform, just basically dirty baseball player. Not dirty from that standpoint, but just, these guys will rather play baseball and get dirty than, anything else in the world. And that's how Pedroia is. He's a great ball player, and that's how Youkilis is. So for him to say that, now all the fans, had to get up in an uproar. But, here's the thing. If Bobby Valentine said that, then I believe there was something to it. I really do. Now, should he say it in an interview on television or an interview on the radio? Probably not. Maybe that's something he could have handled in the clubhouse and say, listen, Kevin, I want to talk to you. Step into my office. We need to have a talk. And maybe he could have handled it privately. That's very possible. I'm not going to, go all the way, to defend Valentine. There might have been a little bit of wrongdoing there. But, that's the kind of stuff that can happen in Boston where every 2 seconds, you got a reporter sticking a mic in your face and asking you questions about every little thing. And he happened to say something that the way he said it, in Valentine's mind, he didn't think it was that bad of a thing, but it came off really bad. But what really bothered me about that was after that, when Pedroia in the clubhouse said, well, we just don't do things like that around here. Well, wait a minute. The last time I checked, you play second base for the Red Sox. What do you mean that's not the way we do it? If you want to do it the way you do it, then you're eating chicken and drinking beer in the dugout and in the clubhouse, okay? And that you guys collapsed, okay? That was one of the biggest collapses in the history of baseball, and that's why Terry Francona was no longer there. It was time to go. It was that toxic syndrome that Pat Riley talks about. I don't know if you ever read Pat Riley's book, The Winner Within, but he talks about that toxic syndrome where once a coach or a manager has been with a team for, 6, 7, 8 years, maybe 10 years, you've been there for a while, you lose your grip on the team, or your whole approach, it loses its it loses its validity. It doesn't land with the team anymore. They're tired of your act, and it just doesn't work anymore. It goes in one ear and out the other. And sometimes it's after 8 years, it's just time to move on. It becomes a toxic relationship, and I think that's what happened with Francona, because Terry Francona is a class act. He's a total class act. He's one of the best managers in baseball. I have nothing but respect for Francona. I remember when he was the manager of the All-Star team, and the All-Star game was in the Yankee Stadium, and he chose Joe Girardi as one of his coaches because the game was in Yankee Stadium. I mean, that was a class act. There was 5 other managers that deserved to be picked ahead of Girardi, and he picked Girardi because the game was in New York. That was ridiculous. He should have had Mike Scioscia on that staff. He could have had Joe Madden on that staff. He could have had 3 other guys, okay? But he picked Girardi and his rival and everything else. He's a class guy all the way. But after being there so many years, guys like Beckett and some of these other guys, they started taking advantage. And they're drinking beer. It was supposed to be in the clubhouse, and I had read somewhere that it wasn't just the clubhouse. It was even they were sneaking it in the dugout. Okay, he lost his grip on that team. They got too comfortable with each other. How many times did Francona back these guys up? I mean, when everybody was saying that David Ortiz was done, he was finished, he couldn't catch up with a fastball anymore. This guy he's done. He's history. Francona stayed the course. Francona stayed with him, and he believed in him, and he came out of it. And David Ortiz can still play this game, okay? Because Terry Francona, you got to remember, this is a guy that grew up in baseball. His father, Tito Franco, was a Major League Baseball player. Terry Francona, he grew up in Major League dugouts, in the clubhouses as a little kid, okay? He knows the game, and he knows, hey, that's baseball, okay? You're going to go through slumps. I mean, what's his name was looking horrible. For a whole half a season, he couldn't hit the ball. Okay, and Francona stayed with these guys, and he backed them up and backed them up and backed them up. And what happened? They took advantage of him, and they collapsed down the stretch. I forgot what it was, but it was like one of the biggest collapses in the history of baseball. Okay, so for Dustin Pedroia now to stand up, or Justin Pedroia to stand up and say, well, this isn't the way we do things around here. Well, maybe the way you do things around there it caused you to collapse. And I think, the management of the team should have backed up, what's his name, Bobby Valentine. They brought Valentine in there to change things. And you know what? Maybe Youkilis, wasn't playing as hard as he used to play. Maybe he was slacking a little bit. Maybe everybody was slacking a little bit. But my point is, when you do that, the fans loved Francona. Valentine came into a situation that was almost a no-win situation there, and that really sent things in going south. And then when they weren't winning on top of that, then all of a sudden it became like, well, it's Bobby Valentine's fault. Now the players don't want to play for Valentine. And then when it became, all these questions came up about the team and everything, Valentine pretty much, without saying it exactly, he pretty much intimated that it was the worst roster that he's ever seen, or it was one of the worst rosters that the Boston Red Sox have ever had, kind of throwing the blame back on management for giving him such a lousy roster of players, and it became a very adversarial situation. So as soon as the season was over, he was done. He was done. But now let's see whoever comes in there now. Did somebody get the job already? Oh, they got Farrell, didn't they?
Yep, John. Yeah, from the Blue Jays. It was a trade.
Yeah,
yep.
I don't have a real good feeling about that. So that they brought somebody in there that the players are going to like, and the players are going to love because they all know him. So again, you're going to have this love fest between the manager and the players again. I'm not so sure that's the right way to go, but at this point, if you had to name the 2 teams that are going to be in the championship game, who are you picking?
I'm saying Bama or Oregon right now.
Bama, Oregon for the championship, and then that secondary game would be, if it's the Rose Bowl.
Let's see. I think even though K-State is ahead of Oregon right now, I think eventually Oregon is going to, especially if they beat Stanford and Oregon State, I think they're somehow going to, in the BCS rankings, whatever, the computers will leapfrog them over K-State, which is a shame, but I just think that's the way the strength schedule is going to line up. So it's probably going to be K-State and somebody else. Notre Dame stays undefeated, then fine, Notre Dame.
It's the SB Show Podcast on SBS Radio on YouTube. It's the SB Show. Thanks for listening, and we are on SBS Radio on YouTube. It's the SB Show.